There has been a development in the Twitch and YouTube political scene. H3H3 Productions, which is a very large podcast, is now suing the orbiters of one of their former podcast hosts for violating fair use copyright law. We can get into details, but realistically, if I try to explain the whole thing to you, it's going to take forever. So I'm going to pull Mr. Ethan Klein onto the screen. I'm going to let him explain it to you. And then I'm also going to pause intermittently in order to add my own insight. Let's go.
Hi there. My name is Ethan Klein, and my favorite hobby is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on lawyers. Today, I invite you into my home to share my favorite pastime with you. Join me in creating generational wealth for my attorney. Let me tell you guys a story. About a year and a half ago, it's a big conversation called ReactGate. ReactGate was a debate going on in the streaming community about what constituted fair use. People like Hassan, XQC, and many of the large Twitch streamers would watch other creators' entire video on their stream. They would rarely add sufficient commentary or even pause the video to speak. Most egregiously, they would re-upload the entire VOD to YouTube with the same thumbnail, the same title, so that they could cannibalize traffic from the original video. Here's what...
Dude, that's actually so bad. So if you're not looking at the screen, I'm going to try to describe it for you. And Rainbow Right brings up an excellent point. Good morning, everyone. Remember to like the stream. Liking the stream is free. We are currently demonetized on YouTube, so not on Counterpoints, but on Valor Media Network. And so as a result, you can't super chat me right now. You cannot gift memberships right now. So the best thing you can do is like the stream. Of course, I'll plug a PayPal link later, but I do understand that sometimes people like to incentivize community engagement through memberships. And they also like to see their comments on super chat. So I get that PayPal isn't for everyone. However, Rainbow Right is correct. Liking the stream is free and it helps. So what's crazy is, I'll describe this to you for those of you who can't physically watch the screen, but Hassan Piker during this segment is just plain content, and it looks like it's on a 2 times or 3 times speed, and it looks like 5 minutes is passing where he's not even looking at the screen. He's just eating, and he's not even watching what he's allegedly watching on the stream.
On XQC and many of the large Twitch streamers would watch other creators' entire video on their stream. They would rarely add sufficient commentary or even pause the video to speak. Most egregiously, they would re-upload the entire VOD to YouTube with the same thumbnail, the same title, so that they could cannibalize traffic from the original video. Here's what Lamino had to say about this phenomenon.
I don't mind people reacting to my videos, but I do mind when they play the entirety of my video. A face cam in the corner or the occasional interruption does nothing to address that issue.
And so this is where we get into the nitty gritty. This is where all these losers on Twitter have no idea what they're talking about, okay? I feel guilty sometimes because I pause the content and then I yap for 5 or 10 minutes, right? And sometimes I'll see a little bit of a drop off. There'll be 3 to 5 people who are just like, hey, I don't even like Connor's commentary that much. I'm out of here. And then they'll dip out as a result. But what I'm hoping is over time, the people who actually like my commentary, the people who like my insight, they're going to stick around. They're going to like the stream. They're going to super chat. They're going to dono. They're going to do X, Y, Z, ABC. And if as a streamer, you're constantly playing off of having a maximum amount of viewership, then you're probably going to do what these people do, which is effectively steal other people's good content. For those of you who can't see, there's a thumbs up under one business model and there's a thumbs down under a different business model. And the thumbs up for the original business model is very clearly original video reaction, 2 types of reaction videos. And then the other one is both of them playing simultaneously. And so in the original, it's original video, commentary, original video, commentary, original video, commentary, so on and so forth. Whereas the second model is you just let the original video play in its entirety. You never pause, you never make commentary, and the only amount of your transformation is going, oh, wow, that's crazy, while the video continues to play, which is obviously, in my opinion, not fair use.
My video is still being played from beginning to end in someone else's stream or video. It's neither ethical nor necessary to feature the entirety of someone else's work. Or, they could do the bare minimum and ask for permission. Something that none of the major reaction channels have ever done when they've streamed or re-uploaded my videos. But to answer your question, no, I don't want people to stream or re-upload the entirety of my videos.
Now, understandably, this made a lot of people angry, because why should these content thieves essentially get more views than the author of the video, which in a lot of cases was happening? I mean, people don't like injustice, and we all see this, and no, it's not right. This debate.
Here's where I think it's overplaying the hand a little bit. I have way better things to care about. Did you guys know there was a genocide going on? There's a genocide going on in Gaza, right? So I'm being sarcastic in that that's oftentimes a talking point, and I'm not going to be surprised if the Hassan orbiters bring that up as a talking point, but this isn't a real problem, okay? Most of us, there's probably half a dozen of us who are not sitting in air conditioning right now, but most of us sit in air conditioning. Most of us know where our next meal is coming from. Most of us, our bills are paid almost on time. It might be a week or two late here or there, but realistically, we can almost pay our bills. And most of us will probably be able to pay our taxes this year, okay? So most of us are doing okay. So rich, no, well, they're not all rich, but content creators creating content that is either a part-time job or a full-time job, but their job is ultimately entertainment, having other entertainers unfairly react to their content is not on my top 10 list of world problems. Now, that being said, is it still against the law to steal other people's content? Yeah. Is it still something you can be sued for? Yeah. And so as a result, we can understand that this isn't that big of a deal while still realizing that it's technically illegal and the people who are subject to this video can be sued for it. I'm going to read a few chats just because I do see some things popping in. Haircut Commander says, I've been punching Hassan D riders in the mouth all morning because I dared to suggest that Ethan's crash out may have partially been because of the harassment getting sent at him. Laugh my ass off. That's just descriptively true, Haircut Commander, so you should not have been getting that much flack. Eric Brandenburg says, did you think the Karen Reed thing was guilty? I didn't read enough about it. As far as I know, Karen Reed was dating some cop. The cop died to freezing and exposure out in the wilderness. She was hanging out with him the night before and getting drunk, but also the fellow cops around her were hanging out with her and getting drunk because it was cops and their girlfriends hanging out and getting wasted. So they tried to accuse her of intentionally killing him, but they didn't have sufficient evidence to do so. I have no idea. Eric Brandenburg says billable hours are no joke. Yeah, well, that's my frustration is I don't want to enrich lawyers. That's the one thing that bugs me about this. Randy Chang says maybe I should go to law school. Is student debt forgiveness still a thing? Well, yeah, but they're for public defenders and for prosecutors, and public defenders and prosecutors only make in the state of Florida, it's not very much. Starting out, it's only $60 grand. So going $200,000 in debt in order to get $60,000 worth of $60,000 a year in order to 10 years later get debt forgiveness doesn't seem like a good deal. If you go to law school, you should probably pick something that's going to be lucrative. Sultan Alfahim says, Reactgate, hola, why are you demonetized? It was an admin thing where effectively somebody had bad demonetization. They were demonetized on their original channel. And so when they moved over to Valor, the YouTube demonetized us because they were on the channel. So it's an administrative thing that they need to fix. Haircut Commander says, it is kind of funny that Hell's Kitchen and Kitchen Nightmares were part of this when they just put that stuff up for free and Ramsey clearly doesn't care. Yeah, but Haircut Commander, that's not necessarily the point, right? Because they can watch that stuff for free on YouTube and therefore don't get copyright strikes. That doesn't mean that they're not technically breaking the law, right? And it set up this dynamic where they were so lazy and so used to ripping content that they did that to people for whom they didn't have permission, right? Tiger Room says, yo mama reacted to my content. It was transformative based. Adonna Treadmill says, good morning. Good morning to you. Tiger Room says, I'm incapable of holding two ideas in my mind at the same time. Well, that's a substantive part of Twitch politics. I'll keep reacting to chat as we go through. However, I want to let the content flow as well.
Culminated when XQC, one of the prime suspects, called into my show to debate me, in which case I'm sad to report that I was terribly owned. So in that regard, do you care at all about IP or copyright? or like the fact that it's illegal, does that matter? If that it might be illegal, does that matter to you?
No.
It doesn't matter.
Well, if flat out doesn't, because
But that's fair.
Watch me full screen cam, do the fucking worm, then watch your
Do
prime,
that.
then watch your prime
Do
content.
it for a week. Do a week of no reaction content and see how many fucking views you get. Oh, okay, sure. I mean, that's content, man. It's original content at least.
So hold up. This actually is annoying to me because look at this. I think this guy's French Canadian, which is why he has like a weird accent. So you got, and I'm sorry, this might come off as like haterade or jealousy or whatever, but this dude, XQC, as far as I know, he is one of the guys who's been stealing tons of content. And look how the AdSense has, has rewarded him. This looks like a nice apartment. To be fair, he's renting. I get a lot of these people like to rent anyways, but he has like a silly 10-foot tall giraffe. This is probably a few $100. We got like 5 skateboard decks, maybe 6. So these are probably 200 a pop. So you got 200, 400, 600, 800, 1,000, 1,200. You got 3 assault rifles, which by the way, like I'm not hating these. This is what I would do with my money if I had tons of expendable income. So right here, these look like SKSs, but whatever. Let's just assume they're $500 to $1,000 a pop. 1,000, let's call this 500, so 1,500, whatever. We got to-go food. We got a refrigerator with energy drinks and all that bullshit, and then we got a couple of Squishmallows. Now, does this mean that Hassan Piker, or not Hassan Piker, does this mean that XQC is like, he's living the high life? This isn't evidence enough. I'm just saying that I'm pretty sure in this debate, XQC also flexes his watch, and he's like, my watch is more expensive than your house. And he has like a $250,000 watch. And I'm pretty sure one of the dramas about this guy is that his girlfriend was cheating on him by driving around his $200,000 supercar. So just based off of what I know about this guy, on screen and off screen, he's generated around $600,000 of revenue. And a part of that, a substantive part of that, is just ripping other people's content. And he's not adding lore. He's not adding insight. He's not adding commentary. He's just stealing other people's shit.
The ultimate debate, bro. He hit him with the worm. Oh, why didn't I think of that first? I kid XQC, but he is not the one I'm suing. Despite my criticism, he's not a malicious infringer. But the ones I am suing, you'll see, are much, much worse. Now, ironically, after this debate and in the wake of this large conversation, the problem seems to have only gotten worse. You have people like Hassan Piker paving the way of fair use with what's known as chair reacts, when Hassan gets up to go to the bathroom or to eat or to talk to his mom or to do whatever, disappears for an extended period of time and leaves the video playing for his chair. Mr. Chair, they call it.
IDF had warned people to leave the area around the main airport in Sana'a. Then this.
Well, I've been seeing
And it was in this setting that I
Listen, guys, I'm guilty of the chair react as well. Obviously, like, once or twice a stream, I'll hit the head and, I'll be gone for like 2 to 3 minutes. But I promise you, what I'm doing is I'm running into the other restroom. I'm using the bathroom. I'm washing my hands and I'm running back. I'm trying to be gone for like a maximum of 2 to 3 minutes on a 5-hour stream. So I think that's a little bit different than just leaving for 30 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Still checking in with chat because I parasocially love you and I'm interested in what you have to say. Haircut Commander says, I don't get how people can do react videos like that. That just be effing boring to do. Dude, literally, not literally, actually, large swaths of Twitch and YouTube politics is Denims, Hassan Piker, and other creators just sitting there staring at other people's content and going, huh. That's like that's hundreds of thousands of dollars a year is Denims with her push-up bra staring at things and going, And then it's Hassan Piker with his steroids going, Eric Brandenburg says, who is not sitting in air conditioning? It is literally my job to fix that. Based. Starhawk says, I mean, it's a real world problem when it's your living. No, I know it's easy to just say that YouTube drama, but stealing is stealing. Well, Starhawks, I get that. But oftentimes with this is the line of argumentation that these people will do, though. And I agree with it to an extent. When you create content, you are going to get an internal algorithmic momentum. As an example, when I'm going to post a Warhammer video today, it's probably going to start out at like a 10 to 12% click-through rate. By 72 hours, it'll be down to 5%, maybe 4. And that's pretty much like the life of the video. Like months going forward, it'll get like a few hundred views per day. Maybe if it's a really good video, it'll get a couple thousand views per day. That's pretty much the life cycle of the video. So that's what I'm going to make no matter what, right? Now, sometimes things catch on fire algorithmically, and then everybody wants to talk about or react to your video. And so what happens is people reacting to or breaking down your video doesn't really affect your video in a negative way. If anything, it probably increases the viewership. However, what is arguable is the fact that if there are people who are just sitting there watching your shit and they don't do any kind of commentary, then effectively what they're doing is they're stealing your product and then they're rebranding and remarketing it. Now, that might not affect its market value. It still might increase its market value because it's effectively marketing, but they didn't sufficiently transform that product in order to argue that it's a new thing. I can make arguments that my breakdowns of Warhammer content are new things because I bring so much more information to the original content than the original content has. That's why I can make a fair use argument for my Warhammer 40K stuff. Whereas if you just stare at the screen, you can't make the same argument. Dark Brandon says, we're all going to die in a fiery hellball. Well, what else is new? Dude Man Sue says, good morning, Grill Hottest. Good morning to you, sir. And also good to see you fighting in the Live and Learn chat. That was pretty funny. Common Cure says, can't wait to see when streamers are mandated to download eye trackers that log each second you stare at the screen and can be used as evidence. That would be funny. Christian Blair says, dang, you'd think that the person at Valor would have told them that they were previously demonetized. I think they did, but they were such a small channel. I think that they didn't think it was going to matter. TS Phantom says, did Connor explain why he's on Valor Media instead of his main channel? Yeah, I stream here like 4 times a week, and then I stream on my home channel one time a week. Yep. Dude Man Sue says Connor is contracted by the Valor to stream Monday through Friday except Tuesday where he streams on Counterpoints. Yep. Christian Blair says the SKS, the Arsler little brother of the AK. True. Bud123 says I thought Canada banned guns. Is he in Canada? I thought he was in LA. Sacred Snow says XQC is an obnoxious React abuser, but the worm was so effing funny and at minimum a tier debate meme. Yeah, that was great. That was a solid meme because my room isn't big enough for that. Crawling Chaos says 40s, lol. Not sure what that's in. Oh, okay, sorry. Haircut Commander says XQC makes fun of fat people, but nearly passed out from playing 40 seconds of soccer. Nice. I need to work on my cardio as well. I did some karate yesterday. It was awesome. Razzle Smasher says ripping content and gambling is what he's known for. That and being impossible to understand. Yeah, I like the Meat Canyon episode of him. It's actually pretty funny. Dude Man Sue says the cope from Caseytron has been amazing. Yeah, also another thing. There's a gal named Caseytron, and if I remember the lore correctly, she's well endowed upstairs in the chesticles. And so what she used to do is she used to pretend to be way dumber than she is, and she's pretty dumb. So it's actually impressive. And then she would play video games poorly, and effectively people would show up to her stream for 2 reasons. 1, to make fun of her gameplay, and 2, to stare at her chesticles. And so she got popular enough that she was able to make a living doing that. But then she realized that she was making enough money, so she stopped caring. So she just started stealing everyone's content, smoking pot, and sleeping on stream. And she still has enough viewership in order to make a living off of that. Kind of crazy. Christian Blair says, looked it up. Google says XQC moved back to Canada in June of 21 after experiencing swatting incidents in the US. They could be airsoft guns. Gotcha. That would be cheaper than real guns. Fashion 40 says soccer isn't a joke. This is coming from someone who played a ton of basketball. Oh yeah, it's a shitload of cardio. If you sit in a chair all day and you never do any cardio and you just lift weights like me, lol, then yeah, cardio is going to hurt. Rainbow Wright says, Ethan said all these clips from Hassan were from the month of May. Wow. That's brutal. I assume that was them going back and taking a look at a ton of other stuff, but that makes sense. Last one, then we'll get back into the content. Sapien says, no one is accusing you of chair reacting. You pause videos more than you drink and spill tea. True.
I formulated an idea. What if I could make a long-form, irresistible piece of content that I knew that these streamers couldn't resist? They couldn't avoid the temptation of watching it the second it was published.
I don't have an issue with them.
It's not that I wanted these people to steal my video. It's that I knew they would. I knew they would watch the entire video, add little to no commentary, react to it instantly, giving them no time to form an opinion. The trap was set, and it worked even better than I imagined it would.
A lot of people on Twitter, you have to look out for this cope. A lot of the leftists on Twitter are like, oh, so he entrapped them? How is a court not going to dismiss this for entrapment? Number one, I'm pretty sure entrapment is like a criminal setup. I'm also pretty sure that even if you set up something like potentially to be stolen, that doesn't change the fact that the other person stole it. And as a result, like, I don't think that's going to be a viable defense for these lawsuits. You know, they call them lawsuits because they're laugh out loud lawsuits. They're not serious lawsuits. So they're funny. How are you going to defend against that? How are you going to say, well, Your Honor, I have this clip of Ethan Klein saying that he knew I was going to steal his content. He didn't want me to steal his content, but he knew I was going to. Therefore, please throw out my case. Good luck with that. I think it's a bold defensive strategy.
We captured pretty much every large streamer reacting to it in its entirety immediately after it was published. Now, the thing is, there were a few people that went above and beyond to commit copyright infringement. For example, Denims sits here silently with nearly 50,000 live viewers. That's 30 times her regular viewership. She's working directly with the Snark subreddit moderators to siphon views, and their intentions couldn't be clearer. Here's an excerpt from a stickied post from the...
I think that this is a stretch too far. I got to call fair shots. He's saying that they're working directly together. I don't think that this piece, I saw this as a clip on Twitter. I don't think that this piece of evidence shows that they're working together. Snark could have posted this without Denim's knowledge. So he would have to substantiate that more, that they actually had a relationship.
Snark subreddit. Hey everyone, we've seen a lot of comments about wanting to watch the nuke without showing support for H3. Here's a list of creators who've supported our sub, either by engaging with us directly or citing our post in their critique of H3. Here they're offering these streamers as market substitutes for my work. This is the cardinal sin of copyright infringement. The Snark.
But you could probably go after Snark for this specifically, like the coordination of the theft of content. But I don't think you can go after these creators for like quote unquote coordination. You could probably use it as additional evidence, but realistically, I think you're going to have a better time arguing in court. Bear in mind, I'm not a copyright lawyer. You're basically just going to say they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything to transform the original content. They sat in the corner and stared at what I created.
Snark subreddit has been a frequent and persistent infringer. That's how I knew when this video came out, the Snarkers were going to encourage, promote, and push streamers to commit copyright infringement. I should thank the Snarkers, actually. Because of their predictability, they acted like double agents for us, incriminating their favorite streamers and serving them up on a golden platter. So, thank you, Snark. It's one thing for a subreddit.
I hope that pisses them off.
To admit it's engaging in copyright infringement. But how do you get the streamers themselves to admit that they're stealing content?
Well, guys, if you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prime. If you like the content, if you enjoyed your time here.
It turns out they just do it for you. You couldn't cook up a more incriminating statement if you tried.
What Denims is going to have to do in this lawsuit in order to avoid actually like, and she's going to have to defend herself. Whether or not she pays a lawyer is totally up to her. But I don't think she'll know enough about copyright law in order to successfully defend herself. what she's going to need to do is she's going to need to say, this is the original video. This is how many views it's got. This is how many views I got. And then this is the runtime of the original video. This is my runtime with commentary. And so she'll have a more substantial defense. Let's say the original runtime is an hour. And let's say that her runtime after reacting and breaking down is 2 hours or 3 hours. Well, then she can say, well, I'm not really being a market substitute because obviously it did very well within the market. And effectively, even though I said that, it still got millions of views, right? And if anything, a lot of people actually, as a result of the drama of me reacting to it, they went to the original just to spite me. So I wasn't really a market substitute. And then on top of that, the original content is an hour long. And then my react and breakdown is actually 2 hours and 30 minutes long. Therefore, my commentary adds in this much transformative element. Therefore, based off of fair use understanding, I believe my content is transformative. That could be a defense. However, if the original is 1 hour and hers is 1 hour and 5 minutes, and she said that, again, I'm not a copyright lawyer. I think Ethan might have people who did that by the short and curlies. Reading chat, because I parasocially love you and want to read it. TS Phantom says, there's a ban on handguns, but otherwise you can get a license for rifles as normal. And that's for Canada. Dude Man Sue says, the sad thing is Denims used to be chill, but she just went full leftist grift mode with the Hassan waiting room. Now she defends Bad Empanada and Mike from PA. She is unforgivable. True. Possum Nation says steroids. I don't know about that. If he's on them, he's not working out. Well, right. But I think he used to be, right? Christian Blair says, I'd love to rewatch it, but pretty sure those rifles had standard 30-round mags, which are illegal in Canada. Yeah, it's probably airsoft. My point isn't necessarily about like the guns. You know what I'm saying? That's not the point. The point is, if that dude's walking around with $250,000 on his wrist, $250,000 in the garage, $50,000 on screen, and then I'm trying to think of what else, but he's effectively walking around with $600K worth of shit, which means that he's probably worth even more. Right. And if he's worth even more, but what he does every single day is he fires up the stream and then he just turns on other people's content. And then on occasion he goes, chat. You know what? Where's the dragon? Where's the dragon? I need to kill the dragon. Chat. And that's like his total content. Then that's theft. Right. TS Phantom says, yes, I can remember the specifics, but large mag capacities are also limited. I think they're limited in California as well, unless they're fixed. Christian Blair says, no idea. I thought he lived in the U.S. as well. I guess he was living in L.A. until he got swatted. Tatsu says, I haven't been following you for long now, but I don't think I would really worry about it if you have a good balance and give a proper reaction and thank you for it. Oh, yeah, I think I do. I think I have a pretty... If I'm reacting to 20 minutes and I turn it into 2 hours, then yeah, I would say my commentary is transformative. Shadow 2 Bravo says, good morning, Connor. Good morning back to you, sir. Old School says, wow, I hope Ethan wins, but as my dad always said, anyone who brings a lawsuit has to be a masochist. Yep. Christian Blair says 5-round mags for rifles, 10-round mags for pistols. How cucked? Yep. Sen Patty says, well endowed ears. Yeah, chesticles. That's what I call them. Starhawk says, I've been learning to dance like Michael Jackson for a few months now. Surprisingly good cardio workout. Based. Dank Brandon says, when I have time to stream gameplay on Twitch, I'm playing South Park and trying to get used to talking while I'm playing, but I don't get a lot of game time. I'm an old parent. Well, yeah, and if you're streaming to 5 people, nobody's going to hit you because you're not worth suing, right? Eric Vandenberg says, speaking of going to Canada from Florida, you know who didn't? The Stanley Cup. Lol. Canadians lost at their best sport. Lol. All right.
The queen of self-owning, you prevail again. There's one thing about copyright you should know is that you got to register it before you publish to be eligible for statutory damages and attorney's fees, which is the main biting force of a copyright infringement lawsuit. Well, I'm happy to tell you guys now, I, Ethan Klein, have registered Hassan Piker Content Nuke with the United States Library of Congress. Some of you guys out there sweating? Even though theoretically, I could sue a lot more creators and rake in millions of dollars. But the purpose of this is not financial gain. People like XQC and Asmongold may have watched the entire thing, but I would never sue them just for doing that. I don't want to chill the reaction community into fear.
Well, also hold on. XQC has a 2 hour and 30 minute, and Asmongold Reacts has 3 hours and 42 minutes. I don't think that watching the other the content in full is the. I don't think that that's necessarily indicative of what you can do with fair use, because technically, if you're reacting to the whole thing, but you have something insightful to say about the whole thing, then that's not copyright infringement. Hassan Piker content nuke. The original is 1 hour and 18 minutes. So if their reactions are 2 hours and 30 and 3:42, I don't even think he could sue Asmongold. Not unless this is like a compilation episode where he has a bunch of other content that he's watching and doing a minimal reaction to. I don't think he could sue Asmongold successfully. With XQC, it's more arguable, but I don't even know if he could, because if the original one is an hour, again, I just looked at it on the screen. Oh, it was like an hour and 20 minutes, right? That means that there is an hour and 10 minutes of commentary in here if he didn't react to additional segments and steal additional segments. So yeah, I don't know, bro. Going a little wide with it.
But I would never sue them just for doing that. I don't want to chill the reaction community into fear. Actually, the opposite. I hope that we can all unite against this type of egregious behavior that not only makes us all look bad, but could destroy the commentary community as we know it.
Well, guys, if you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prime.
The state of reaction content on Twitch is so broken, these creators feel comfortable looking right into a camera and saying outright, hey, I'm stealing this guy's content. Pay me instead of him. This is not a healthy environment. And with people like Hassan reacting to entire TV shows on stream, my fear is that Sony or Disney comes along, sues everybody, and sets a devastating precedent that could endanger our entire field. Now, before I tell you who the 3 people I'm suing are, I just want to make it clear that they all met this very specific high bar of criteria that I set forth earlier. These people.
This is what I'm interested in.
Were not targeted based on their gender, their identity, their political beliefs. All 3 are on this list. In fact, they're the only 3, as far as I could tell, that reacted to the full video. Drum roll, please. Who's sweating at home, guys? Caseytron, the queen of ripping farts and bong loads.
They do musicals. They're very musical people. Are you being serious? Dog, what do you... Look! You think I'm...
Sorry. Eating some trail mix. That's petty. That's petty as hell.
Frogan, who, bless her soul, she's still rising.
Can I walk away and use the bathroom? Do I have permission? Can I use the bathroom, please? I'll leave it playing.
Apparently thinks Twitch is liable for me interviewing a Yemeni teenager who's only known genocide his entire life.
What happened?
That wasn't that long, dude. That wasn't that long. Listen, I'm gonna defend Frogan. That's enough time for her to go to the bathroom and wash her hands and come back. You don't want her to wash her hands, Ethan Klein? I don't think that's fair.
And Denims, the queen of self-owning. And my God, is she the queen of that?
It's very obvious from the way that guy's talking, he's a Sneeko fan.
Oh my God, bro, I love you. Can I give you a hug, bro?
I'm so sweaty, bro.
I love you, bro.
None of the hostages that have been released so far have said that they have been raped. The hostages have public statements. You can go look at them.
The sexual assault I experienced should never happen to any human being.
This Yemeni kid is just a Yemeni kid with a gun and is not a Houthi, and there is no proof of him being a Houthi.
Are you a soldier? Yes. That seems pretty definitive.
He never said Hassan Nasrallah was a good guy.
I can't believe I'm calling Nasrallah base. I mean, listen.
Now for the fun part. Let's take a look at the complaints, and let's start with my favorite of the 3, the very own, the prestigious, the highly acclaimed, the highly analytical Caseytron.
Checking in with chat because I parasocially love you. TS Phantom says, the problem with React content is that it's low effort, high return. Creating original content takes a lot of work, gathering assets, cutting, adding transitions, and grading footage just to get stolen. Agreed. So TS Phantom, I have done 2 animated shorts, and they're not particularly complex. I have a Sentinel from Warhammer 40K walking through a forest, blowing apart Ewoks with a las cannon. Funny, 30 seconds, kind of a complex animation when you actually get the walking down right. And I had to commission somebody else to do it because I could not properly animate a walking animation. It's actually very difficult. The entire creative process made me appreciate animators so much more. So I had to pay somebody else. And I paid somebody else, and I think it was like $500 to $1,000 for the animation. I forget the exact dollar amount, but it's only 30 seconds, and I paid like $500. I think I probably paid like $750 for it because I was like, oh, this is so funny. It's going to go viral. And so I posted that, and it got like, 60,000 views, 80,000 views, something like that. But it's a YouTube short. It's 30 seconds. So I probably made like $20 off of a $750 investment. That's not a good ROI. Same thing with, I posted a video of a Imperial warship ramming the Starship Enterprise and blasting it apart. And I think that's at like 400,000 views, which is great. Like, I'm happy. But I also paid $750 to $1,000 for a 30-second animation. And while it looks good, it sounds good, the artist did a great job. I probably made like $60 off of that animation, because each one is so expensive. The only way that I think that an animator can really make money, pouring their heart and soul into like a 20-minute animation, is if they have a subscription model that has people who are willing to sign up for it. So if you have a Patreon that has like a few $1,000 per month, so you can effectively work for months on months on months on months on end, and you know that your bills are paid, then you can be a successful, independent animator. Or you have to go work for a big studio. And I think the way the big studios make money, effectively, like, what was it? Killer of Killers, Predator, Killer of Killers. I'm sure that has not, even with probably millions of views, maybe tens of millions of views, it probably hasn't made back its budget yet. It's probably going to make its budget back over years of people consuming the content. And so, as a result, like, animation is tough. Large scale media productions is tough. You know what's easier? Firing up the webcam and criticizing other people's work, or talking about lore related to other people's work and cutting in art. That's a lot easier than creating something original, 100%. Now, my only defense is, not my defense, but in my defense, I have about 1 billion ideas in my head of creative endeavors that I would undertake. However, I have limited time and limited money. Otherwise, I would be doing those things 100%. It's not for a lack of creativity. It's a lack of time and money. Sapien Green says, can a civilian entrap another civilian? Isn't entrapment a police officer FBI thing? Yeah, to my knowledge, and I think it's also criminal, not civil. Christian Blair says, were you laughing when the gavel came down? Absolutely. Haircut Commander says, apparently Ethan also registered his video with the Library of Congress. We just saw that, or something to give it enhanced copyright protections. Yep. Haircut Commander says, man, in that case, it really do be a shame if Denims said something incriminating regarding watching the vid to siphon viewers from Ethan. Yeah. So we just watched that happen. And to be honest, we should probably go check her runtime to see how much commentary she added. Because if she added like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, she's probably not going to win that case. Or at least that would be my prediction anyways. Rainbow Wright says, let's be honest, they are all going to settle. I don't know if Ethan Klein would accept a settlement. I think he would need a judgment. Like, I don't think, again, he's not going for money. He's going to set a legal precedent and also to scare the shit out of all the content thieves online. Jeff Lewis says, streamers are pretty dumb and prideful. She might find it. Yep. I'll read another few. Razzle Smasher says, Ethan said all bets were off after the CPS incident, and who can blame him? Now we know what he meant. Lol. Yep. Jenix says, hey, watching Pisco's shitty take on this. Be right back. Based. Bud123 says, Grill Hottest are taking over. Let's go. Indeed. Grill Hottism. It's better than DGGism. You know why? Because we grill. We got hot dogs. We got cheeseburgers. And we got beer.
people have been wanting to watch this without necessarily supporting Ethan Klein. So we're going to watch it.
Well, that's a really dumb thing to say, don't you think? Why are you so comfortable? We've given each complaint a clever little title, and here's Caseytron's. She smoked more than she spoke. Caseytron smokes 42 times during her reaction. And just as a silly thought experiment, we thought, wouldn't it be funny if she spent more time smoking than she did talking? And thinking there was no way that that could be true. Well, we tallied them up, and lo and behold, there's 15 minutes, 40 seconds of commentary versus 18 minutes and 55 seconds of smoking. She's
That's awesome.
Spent 3 minutes and 15 seconds longer smoking than she did talking in her quote unquote reaction. And whatever talking she did was just to express how confused she was, presumably from smoking 42 times.
What is happening? I'm trying to follow. I've lost the plot.
The complaint continues. Indeed, Caseytron is often too obliterated to comment on the nuke and instead stares blankly at her computer.
Listen, it's surprising to me that a lawyer would write the words obliterated in the complaint, but okay.
Computer screen. In a span of 2 hours and 7 minutes, Caseytron smokes marijuana, frequently in highly concentrated forms through vaporizers, on 42 separate occasions. At one point, Caseytron is so wasted that she states, quote, "What is happening? I'm trying to follow, but I've lost the plot." To give you an idea, the majority of her commentary comes down to this.
I don't understand this bit that he's doing.
He's read more books than you could ever imagine.
CPM's coming out of Qatar.
What the hell is going on?
Right?
He's read more books than you could ever imagine.
What is happening? I'm trying to follow. I've lost the plot.
They do musicals. They're very musical people. Are you being serious? Dog, what do you look? You think I made this shit? This isn't a music video, Hassan.
And as dumb as all of that is,
Yo. Listen, I know we got potheads in chat. I know we got angry potheads in chat. And listen, I was an angry pothead in high school, so I'm not trying to hate too much, okay? So when I'm hating on the pothead race, bear in mind I don't actually hate you. But if this is how you're living your life, where instead of waking up, working, taking care of your family, taking care of your community, and then you're just ripping until you're out of your mind and you're barely functional, I hate to share this with you, you're a fucking drug addict. If you were an alcoholic, we would call you an alcoholic. I get it. Weed is non-habit forming. I get it. It's not physically addictive, but you are mentally addicted to that shit. And number one, we don't have to deal with all that like fake health bullshit from the early thousands, where basically every stoner friend of mine was telling me that the reason why weed is banned is because it cures cancer and it's an antioxidant that, you know, makes you better at running and all the crazy bullshit they were saying in the thousands. We don't have to deal with that anymore. We know it's a carcinogen. We know that it gives you cancer. We know that it causes heart disease. We know that it causes, like, it can cause schizophrenia. So weed is probably safer than alcohol. I'll give you that. It's probably one of the safest drugs you can do. That doesn't mean that it's completely safe. And it doesn't mean that you're not wasting your time or your potential getting ripped every single day. If you're having fun, you're smoking a little bit of pot, and then you're enjoying your life, good for you. And do what you got to do, right? However, if you're like Caseytron, overweight, ripping bongs, unable to pay attention to simple logical arguments because you're so ripped out of your skull, you need to stop. Okay? You need to stop and you need to rejoin civilization. Checking in with chat. Kyle says, what I miss. Ethan Klein suing people for stealing content. That's what you missed. Eric Brandenburn says, if I ever won a lawsuit versus Asmongold in lieu of money, I would accept a USMC drill sergeant being sent to his house to motivate Asmongold to clean it to a standard that is up to their standard. That would never happen. He would have to clean it for like months in order to get it up to Marine Corps standard. Also, with Marine Corps, with the Marine Corps. It's drill instructor, not drill sergeant, but I appreciate the energy. Silver Jacket Man says, I think the prime issue is the geniuses actually said, I am doing this to siphon views from the videos I don't like. Had to argue intent. True. Or hard to argue intent. Yep. Patty says, dog, I don't think I could stream again if I cough my lungs out that hard live, looking like a 5-year-old with a whooping cough. Dude, this was actually that was pretty funny. Like, they actually went through that. Dank Brandon says, she only took 42 bong rips on stream, though. I could double that. Well, if you made it part of the content where you're like, I'm going to take 100 bong rips in the next 2 hours of my Ethan Klein react, I think you could argue that's transformative. Ensort says, horrified by how many in Hassan's orbit have elevated his beef to the same level as the Gazan war. Well, Ensort, what was so funny about that was I was talking to my wife this morning. She's like, oh, you know, what are you gonna react to today? What are you gonna break down? Oh, monetization is back on. Let's take a look at that momentarily. And then my flights are booked. All right, cool. Lots of cool things happening simultaneously. Sorry, let's take a look at that. Let's confirm that. Because then I don't have the excuse of saying that you need to PayPal me. I might just tell you to start doing super chats. So let's go to Valor. Let's double check what they said. Valor, we're live. 73, double check what they said. Let's take a look at chat. No, I'm not seeing it yet. So normally there's the dollar signs, right? And you can do the memberships. But apparently we got remonetized. So give it some time. And I'm sure this will update and we'll eventually be able to donate again. All right. Anyways, back to the content. I'm going to go pull up a PayPal thing. Although I want to finish what Ensort was saying. Oh, sorry. I didn't finish my idea. ADD. The wife was asking, what are you reacting to today? And I was like, oh, yeah, it's a busy day. And I was like, I'm going to react to Ethan Klein suing a bunch of React streamers. And she's like, isn't there a war going on? Isn't there a genocide? And I was like, yeah, but you have to react to streamers fighting each other around the politics of a genocide. Because if you just react to the genocide, you're going to get bummed out. It's more funny to watch Ethan Klein and a bunch of pro-Palestinian people fight each other through Lolsuits than it is to, I don't know, just watch like downtown Israel get bombed with dead Jews and downtown Gaza get bombed with dead Gazans and watch downtown Iran get bombed with dead Iranians. You know, like it's more fun to be on the periphery of geopolitics.
This is the part that really got her sued.
A lot of people have been wanting to watch this without necessarily supporting Ethan Klein. So we're gonna watch it. What the fuck is going on here?
Stating outright that her intention of doing this is so that people who don't want to support me can watch it through her is why copyright infringement laws exist. You could not and should not do that, especially if your commentary consists of you taking bong loads. At least try to engage with the content. Whoa, what was that? Oh, sorry. That was a flying star. It almost got me. You know her and you love her, guys. Frogan. Reaction by exiting. Here she is getting up to leave the video running as she steps out of the room. Is that transformative? I guess the judge will decide. She said, quote, it's time to watch the new nuke ethically. Hell yeah. Very smart to say on camera, by the way. She said, quote, thank you guys so much. I do appreciate everyone's support. And thank you for watching it with me. Well, you are so welcome. And I'm so glad that you were able to enjoy that day. Her commentary is so non-existent that even her own fans begin to call her out.
I don't have anything to say. Dude, because he's cycling the same fucking points over and over again. What more commentary do you need on him repeating the same fucking points for the whole first hour and 1 minute and 32 seconds? It's been the same shit over and over again. This video could have been condensed into 20 fucking minutes. Like, what commentary do you want me to add by, like, oh, this guy's a fucking idiot, he's mentally ill, and he's having a mental breakdown and uploaded it to fucking YouTube? Are you gonna make it at least one?
That's better commentary. Like actually pausing every 5 minutes. Dude, I watch Queeman, man. Sometimes I watch Queeman. I watch Chud Logic. I watch Nick Diorio. And effectively what their content is they find somebody who's doing something incredibly cringe and stupid on the internet, and they pause every 5 minutes and they're like, here's the background of the lore of why this person sucks, and this is why they're stupid, and this is why they're funny. And you know what? I would never watch the original content, because if I watch the original content, I would cringe to death. Whereas if I watch the content through a React Andy who pauses every 5 minutes and gives me lore on the background and calls the person I'm watching stupid, I will engage in that content. So it's not a market substitute. It is transformative. They do give me educational value separate from the original content, and they do increase the runtime substantively. So realistically, yeah, Frogan, that's what you should have done in reference to this video. You should have paused every 5 minutes, given a political analysis of the commentary, called Ethan Klein stupid, and then explained why you thought he was stupid, and you wouldn't be getting sued right now. That's awesome.
One good point. What do you want me to make a point on?
Oh, I forgot. She also said, can I use the bathroom, please? I'll leave it playing. You may use the bathroom, Frogan, although I don't advise it.
Can I use the bathroom, please? I'll leave it playing.
This into your stomach. And let me state the obvious. Jew and...
This I honestly feel is probably the weakest component of it. You can make an isolated argument that 2 minutes is not transformative because the person is gone. But if you look at the work as a whole, like let's say that she reacted to it and broke it down and the original runtime is 1 hour and 20 minutes. And let's say that there's an additional hour of commentary that's interspersed every 5 minutes or so. And then let's say that, 2 minutes later, literally 2 minutes later, for a bathroom break, I think that's reasonable. This is actually, for me, the weakest part of it. Of course, I have to let like actual copyright lawyers argue it. But for me, I think this is kind of silly. Part one, paste this. What? I want a link. All right. Anyways.
Apparently thinks Twitch is liable for me interviewing a Yemeni teenager who's only known genocide his entire life.
What happens?
Well, you just pause it. That's it. You just pause the video, right? Like you get up and you go to the bathroom, you just pause it. They should be watching for you. But if you get up to go to the bathroom and they keep watching my video, as lazy and pathetic as not why she's getting sued. This is.
Thank you guys so much.
Okay, I'm curious.
I do appreciate everyone's support, and thank you for watching it with me. First time viewer, time to watch the nuke ethically. Hell yeah! I found my way from Reddit. Hi guys, welcome Reddit people. Reddit people. I came from the issue Stark Reddit. Ethan is so pathetic while his son is in Japan. I'm bothered having a great time. Exactly. We're gonna watch it live. Yes. He doesn't want people to know when it's dropping because we're all watching through other streamers. And I suggest you all watch it through other people as well.
It's the stated malicious intent to steal.
Ooh. I don't know if that's going to be sufficient. Again, I'm getting you guys a Discord link. But I don't know if that's going to be sufficient. If she did do a transformative reaction, then I don't know if that's going to be sufficient in order to nail her. But effectively, one of the argumentative criteria for copyright infringement is serving as a market replacement. That's actually one of the criteria to evaluate whether or not something is fair use. So I do understand why he's doing it, even if she had better commentary than the other creators. There is a Discord link if you want to join the community. There is a PayPal link if you want to donate via PayPal. I'm going to check my thing right now. And psst, look, monetization is back on. Okay, so it looks like we're getting ad revenue. Looks like the super chats are back on. And then it looks like it's live on his screen. So you actually have a variety of options. If you want to PayPal, obviously PayPal is appreciated. But if we're remonetized and you see the dollars, you can start giving memberships or doing super chats. So parasocial love, either way, never required, always appreciated. Reading some chats, though. N-Sort says, horrified by how so many people in Hassan's orbit have elevated this beef to the same level as the Gazan war. Unironically, I said that this is more entertaining than the Gazan war because the Gazan war can be depressing. N-Sort says, Ethan is just a streamer with a slightly less strong opinion on Gaza than Hassan, and people are beefing with him more than anything else. It's the, what is it? The narcissism of small differences. Jonah Boy says, animation is really hard to do and time consuming. Yes, it is. Talented animators. That's actually why I get a little bit frustrated when I get comments of fan animations where they're like, this could look better. Who even did this, that, or that? And I actually comment in the fan animator's defense, and I'm like, well, show us your work so we can compare it. And oftentimes they're like, well, just because I don't do it myself doesn't mean that I can't criticize somebody else's art. And you're right. You're right. You can absolutely criticize somebody else's art, even if you don't have the talent in order to replicate it. That's totally true. However, I don't think people realize how hard it is to do good animation. Average animation, where everything is like a little bit janky, even that is hard as hell. Christian Blair says, she obviously smokes her bong, chat, but do you think she... Wow, rude. Bud123 is grill hotism profitable yet? Not quite, but very close. I've pretty much, bear in mind, like, Grassroots Hegemon has been entirely way too kind to the channel, and he's like 60% of it. So I don't want to rely on Grassroots alone forever. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like, we're obviously through super chats, obviously through ad revenue. We basically replaced my salary with Valor. But then the point of that is, we're reliant on an Euler, Grassroots, just being real. We're reliant on your generosity, which is half of it, which is appreciated. And then we're just building up the AdSense now because we've been posting videos almost daily for about 3 or 4 weeks now. So we're just now starting to see ad revenue trickle in. And we could have off months, Grassroots might go on vacation. He might not want to oil all of the time. Some of you guys might go through financial emergencies, all that kind of stuff. So just because we have a good month where effectively I replace my salary, that's obviously like a really good sign for the future of the channel. But I can't just tell Valor like, oh, lol, I replaced my salary. We can go ahead and take the training wheels off. It's like, no, we need the training wheels for another few months. Excuse me. Sin Patty says, grill hotism's profit is for our profit. Grill shala. I'll be Grillses. Grillsies. I don't know how to make Jesus and grill combined, but we'll figure it out. Jeff Lewis says, don't lie, Connor. The reason you have less money is because Warhammer is a rich person's hobby. I mean, yeah, but I haven't bought miniatures in a while, to be honest. Rainbow Wright says, got to watch the H3 show last night. Ethan tells them to settle. Oh, so I'm wrong. Interesting. That's interesting. Fashion 40 says, what's on the beer menu, Grill Hottest? Honestly, whatever you want. I'm more of like a lager guy or a stout guy, but I understand some people still like IPAs. Smoking is literally burning money, oftentimes, and burning brain cells. Dude Man Sue says, I literally dreamed about a cheeseburger last night. My Grill Hottie influences have given me divine visions from Allah. Allahu snack bar Grill Hottest. True.
They talk about watching ethically, but I learned not to steal when I was 5. Up next is Denims. And honestly, just take a look at this, guys. It's a nightmare on Denim Street. Not only did she chair react, but she was kind enough to write her name right at the top just so that we knew that she was stealing my content and it was her room and nobody else's. Judge, did you know that we're on Denim Street right now? Here's some quotes from Denims. We're relying on you to stay live so we don't have to give the nuke views. Yeah, I'm going to stream it. Since he's confirmed it's coming out today, I'm going to stream it. That is very explicit. Denim said, quote, well, guys, if you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, give me a follow, subscribe, throw a prime if you like my content. Your content? The Queen of Self-Own included a countdown timer so we could tell exactly how long she was away. After being gone for a few minutes, she returns and then sits silently for another couple of minutes eating.
I'm going to go pee, and hopefully, when I'm back, they're done with this.
All right.
You do look better.
Mr. 305. I see it.
Dude, you should do this.
I have an alternate.
we're relying on you to stay live so we don't give more views on the nuke. Yeah, I'm gonna stream it. Since he confirmed it's coming out today, we're gonna stream it. If you want to watch it with someone else who's already watching it, you know, come enjoy the watch party somewhere else. If you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prime. If you like the content, if you enjoyed your time here, because I'm going to be honest, I did not want to watch that by myself.
Let me also commercialize it by asking you to reward me financially for stealing his content. That is like chef kiss. By the way, Denims had a very...
That's not, okay. This is where I would be curious about Ethan Klein's assessment or his lawyer's assessment. Profitability is not necessarily a fair use defense. And what I mean by that is a teacher, for instance, you guys might have had a history teacher who showed you like Gladiator in junior year or senior year of high school. And the argument was like, it's a partially historical film. I'm having a chill day. You know, we just want to watch it together. Which technically, without permission, screening somebody else's film could be copyright abuse. So technically, whoever owns the film could sue your history teacher. Now, they're not going to, because suing them is going to be more expensive than any money recuperated. And also, there's fair use exceptions. One of the fair use exceptions is the fact that whether or not it's done for commercial profit is one of the reasons where you can say, well, I made no money, so the goal was not to make money, right? So that's where her saying like, well, if you want to give me money, then give me money, right? That can be something that adds up the copyright. But again, if it's a 1 hour and 10-minute video and she adds another hour or 2 hours of commentary, and that commentary is transformative, she could still win that suit.
A successful stream. She had 43,000 people watching her live. Take a look at the title of her Twitch stream. Ethan Klein Hassan Content Nuke Watch Party. A watch party? I don't...
Yeah. Watch party's pretty cringe.
I don't think that's fair use. Now, Denims, of course, always delivering the goods. She went on this dude's podcast to debate fair use. And would you be surprised if I told you she said a lot of incriminating things in that podcast? The queen of self-own never disappoints.
I want to be clear on my opinion on like filler content and stuff. Like I think filler content, like you shouldn't do it. I know I do it as a React stream. And I try to do it only when I do it with like Vox videos or Vice videos and stuff like that, because at least I'm not like directly ripping from one content creator and not like a whole team and stuff. And most of those videos have like 5 million views. I only get like 500 viewers, like out what I'm taking maybe 50 views from the video. It's a lot harder to feel like, I guess, bad about that. Whereas like I would feel very bad about doing that to like a single content creator. The majority of people say that they literally wouldn't watch Hell's Kitchen unless I was streaming. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm reacting hard enough. You know, I'm sure if you click on a random part in the video, I might not be saying anything, sure, whatever. And I might walk away from the screen, but it's about like the communal thing. It's why like fucking Toast started streaming Death Note. It's not about the actual show at a certain point. It's the same reason you watch shows with your friends. You want to watch it with other people. A lot of people go to watch streamers on Twitch for their React content almost as a curator. So they don't actually want to go through YouTube themselves and watch a bunch of videos. And they probably never will go through YouTube and click a bunch of videos. They like going to Twitch because they like to have it as like, this streamer is curating fun content that I want to watch.
Look, I'm
From the people that I've talked to, the people who watch Twitch content are specifically there to watch it so they don't have to scroll through YouTube and find a video they like. If someone watches content, I already said this, if someone watches content on someone else's stream, there is a very low likelihood that they're going to go watch it separately and give you like the view or the like. Or the people who are watching content on Twitch, curated Twitch content on Twitch, aren't necessarily people that would be watching content on YouTube.
That, my friend, is called theft. And you're a thief. And now I'm suing you. This is just a testimony.
So hold on. I'm just going to steel man the opposition though, okay? So Ethan Klein has filled this video with a series of clips from other content creators. Every time there's a clip of that content creator on screen, it's arguably their content. The reason why Ethan Klein is allowed to do that is because it's transformative. He's not using the content for the original same purpose. And so what Denims was arguing, God help me, I'm going to steel man Denims, is that it's arguable that a watch party has a social element with a chat that is different from just watching the original content by yourself. I think that's pretty weak. I don't think that's going to necessarily be approved in court, but it's an argument that can point towards transformation. And then what I would argue, especially if I was a copyright lawyer who was doing this case, is that if the original runtime, I know I keep going back to runtimes, but if the original runtime is 1 hour and there's an additional hour of commentary interspersed at 5-minute intervals, then clearly it's not serving the same purpose as the original video. The original video is meant to be watched uninterrupted with a set purpose, whereas a commentary video is either supposed to add insight or add information or educate people about that content. So that's where, if it's serving a transformative purpose, I think that absolutely can be argued under fair use. So anyways, so I feel like Ethan's going a little hard, but broad strokes, he's probably right. Checking in with chat again. Hedonic Treadmill says one of the best parts of this whole thing is Ethan using his own landmark case in the lawsuits. That's pretty based, I'm not going to lie. Silver Jack Man says she might want to cut back. Agreed. Matthew Hayes says 420 the whole time. Face, fuchsia, flower, shape. Yeah, bro. They need to chill out with the pot. Bo Dickerson says, I smoke pot. That is excessive. Get a job. Agreed. Rainbow Wright says, pothead race. I love it. True. Fashion 40 says, I'm a chill pothead. I play city builder games and vape on stream. Caseytron is just chasing dragons. Playing Sim City or Civilizations Baked sounds like an awesome way to spend your time, to be honest. I would, but number one, I'm afraid of developing schizophrenia. Number two, I think my brain is so filled with like little demons or whatever, I don't want them to crawl out. The one thing that I would say sounds a lot of fun is actually like getting baked and doing a construction game instead of like a violent game. That actually sounds pretty based. Like that might actually be fun to do, like Sim City or something. That might be awesome. Or even Civilizations. Civilizations is a little bit violent, but since it's like an RTS, you know, the violence is kind of limited to like battle interactions, whereas a lot of it is civilization building. So that's pretty interesting. Dude Man Sue says, based pothead, take Connor for real. Yeah, like, you know, be a productive stoner. Don't waste your time. Matthew Hayes says, from the Dare generation here, that is a sad display. You shouldn't show your hand like that. Yep. Dude Man Sue says, from a former pothead. Agreed. Shaved Dog Butt says, it's pretty conclusive that marijuana has some level of physically addictive characteristics. They just are not as strong as pronounced as things like opiates. Yeah, I'm pretty sure alcohol is probably more common and more rough for you than marijuana. Unless you develop schizophrenia, at which point you have like a critical issue. Bud123 says, is weed that you consume by not smoking still a carcinogen? No idea. Probably not, right? I think the carcinogen comes from burning plant matter. Shaved Dog Butt says, 70 people watching the stream, only 34 likes. Pump those numbers up. You're right. According to someone else, we are remonetized, and I see a couple of super chats. Jeff Lewis for $2. What makes the grass grow? Super chats. Indeed. Gen X says, wait, we got remonetized? Major W. Thank you, Gen X. Very much appreciated. Yum, coffee. All right. Last one. Eric Brandenburg says, I can't believe the Palestinians have never heard of Switzerland. If hiding in hospitals and schools isn't working, they should try banks, 2 world wars, and everyone stayed out of Switzerland. Rude.
To how brazen and how safe they've, you know, gotten. That she thinks she can go out in public on video and say shit like, I'm stealing this content because I want to. I'm coping even though I know it's stealing. When people watch it with me, they're definitely not going to go watch the original. Like, you are way...
Yeah, that's actually... When you say it like that, that's pretty tough. That pretty much says, like, you're attempting to steal explicitly in order to hurt the original finance of the thing. Yeah, that's pretty rough. I'm not going to lie.
Too comfortable committing crimes out in the open. Well, there you have it. 3 separate lawsuits for 3 separate geniuses. Now, I want to make it clear again, and I hope it's been obvious about why I'm suing these 3.
This is where I feel like all the people freaking out on Twitter are not steelmanning Ethan Klein. I have a presumption that he's actually going to explain why, if you're like a normal React Andy, you shouldn't give 2 fudges about this.
People and not others. These people not only violated all of the principles of fair use, they also did it maliciously. And that's the part that really got me. I think if you're a reactor on Twitch, for the most part, if you make a good faith effort to comment And if you make a good faith effort to promote the author, to link to them, to try to drive traffic to the original video, I think you're probably pretty much doing the right thing, and that's fine. And I would never sue someone for that. Take it to these three absolute morons to state their intention to steal my property on video, and to all the detractors who are saying that I'm targeting women, that I'm a hypocrite for suing for copyright infringement, I just have this to say. I don't care. What I do hope, though, is that you'll support their crowdfunding efforts to defend themselves. Because let's face it, I want to make sure there's money left over for me when I win my lawsuits. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's been a great time. I'll see you around.
Wow. Doing a Lolsuit when there's a genocide in Gaza going on? That's crazy. I would even take my shirt off and lift weights on stream, but I would want cash. So anyways, bye for now. Have fun.